Grace and peace and Shabbat Shalom to all that are coming in. Grace and peace. We'll get started in a moment. Again, one love and grace and peace to all who are coming in the room. All praise and glory to Jah, Yah, our Father, and His only begotten Son, Jehoshua, Yahshua, Yahawashai, Jesus, the Black Israelite Messiah, for giving us life and the opportunity to have eternal life. Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Jah. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us out of all temptations, and deliver and protect us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Through your Son, Joshua the Messiah, we always pray. So be it. Again, Shabbat Shalom to all who are coming in the room. As a reminder, as you know, we use the name Jah for the Father and Yah. Many other people in the world have various understandings of the Most High's name and His Son's name. So, all the words that you and the names and titles you see on the screen, they are sanctified by many individuals and groups. And so we give all respect to those names. And if you use any of those names, make sure that you live behind what that name stands for. Shalom again to all coming in. Don't forget to give a thumbs up as you come in, because it helps to get, the messages out there. As you know, we're talking about the revelation of Jah's almanac that was written by David Ray. And he wrote 4 other books: The Moon and the Month, Abib, the first scriptural month, Seed Time, Harvest, Summer and Winter in the Land of Jezreel or Israel, and Zion and Babylon. These books are packed with a lot of information that will help you get yourself oriented in Jah's times, chronology, and His holy days. So again, Shalom. Brother Sean here. You can just make sure you always check out our channel, and you see a lot of the information, our contact information on here. And as well, later on, I'm going to put in the link to, if you want to get Jah's Almanac. But if you're just coming in now, www.truetalks.ca. Psalms 90 reads, "So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom." Now, when we see this verse here, when you read it in the context of Psalms 90, it's talking about the length of years as well as how long we live. So it says like 70 years is usually that given time frame for, the average human being to live. And 70 years is also the time frame of a king. And then after that, if you live any longer, it's due to, of course, Jah's blessing, or you have, you have a healthy body. It says in the scripture, strength. But when we apply this now to just numbering our days and how we supposed to live our lives, we also see that it does apply greatly to calendars, to understand that we can, apply our minds and hearts to wisdom. And as we always say, wisdom is the number 7, and it's 7 is the number of wisdom and perfection. Today's date is the 16th of the 12th month, Adar. 6,000. Oh no, we're in 6,220 years from creation. We're not there yet. January 23rd. 2 more Sabbaths till the new year, and first month Abib. Here we are on Jah's Almanac. And if you got the almanac already, you know this is the 12th month. The small numbers are Gregorian numbers, and we're here on the 16th. So two more Sabbaths to go. We just passed Purim, which was a festival that you don't have to keep it at all. You know, you're not obligated to, but if believers want to, for sure they can do it in the, in the, I guess, in the spirit of wisdom and understanding. But you can see again, 2 more weeks. So February 6th, that means the end of that Sabbath at 6 o'clock will be the beginning of Jah's New Year. And here we are right now on calendar 4. It's the year 6220, and I know it's the year 2021, but because we're just a couple of weeks off, that's why it's appears that way. But we will be in calendar 5, year 6221, of course, equivalent to 2021 AD. There's a good look at the full year coming up. It is a common year, and if you're utilizing Jah's Almanac, when you look at this, full year calendar, you always know that the holy days are the holy days are in yellow, and usually red print are highlighted in yellow. The beginning of the months are also there, and I just made all the Sabbaths also in red. If you're understanding the count to Pentecost that begins the last week of Abib, then you can see that these numbers are in brown and they're italicized. So we're going to be going through this, this whole um, this whole calendar year today. And believe it or not, it's not as long as you think. And, it doesn't have anything to do with really great complications, but we're going to be applying our wisdom and understanding from the scriptures, and you'll be able to utilize. And my goal is to hopefully have people at least understand, how this scriptural calendar is formulated by the scriptures, using wisdom as well, to help you, explain it to others, or even build your faith and understanding. Because a lot of people, they use lunar months and all kind of different ideas for months, but Jah's months are calculated days that were measured by him, and he put them in the scriptures. And of course, it's not so easily to be found, but give thanks to Jah. He gave, the spirit of wisdom and understanding to David Ray to search it out. And here we are today, proving Jah's Almanac. And again, I'm very thankful for this. So let's get into this. Abib equals February. You're also going to be talking, we're going to be talking today about the 28-day month, how Abib is the only month with 28 days in total. And we're going to have proof of the scriptural year. As we move through the next couple of weeks, you don't have to worry. We're going to be covering almost everything else that we have to deal with calendars that way. Comparing calendars, dealing with the Abib and the barley and all of those other issues, and also these astronomical observances. But today we're just going to have a basic understanding of Abib, but we're going to prove the scriptural year fully from the scripture. So this is Abib February, 28 days long. It's the first month of spring, the latter rains as well. Or you can even call it the first month of harvest. Shabbat Shalom to all those who are coming in the room. Again, make sure you have your study tools ready to take down these things. You can screenshot or whatever it is, just to help you, further prove, the scriptural calendar. So, of course, when you look up this word Abib, it appears 7 times in the scripture. It's not in the Apocrypha or the New Testament. It's also mentioned once as a city as well, Tel Abib or Tel Aviv. It's Strong's H24, Abib. Let's take a look at this, because we're going to talk about this not a lot today, but definitely probably next week, because this is a big issue for some individuals. So it means fresh, young barley ears, or barley, it says. This is what the word Abib means, right? Also means month of ear forming, of greening of crop. Here's what they call it, of growing green Abib. That sounds kind of silly. Month of Exodus and Passover. In Babylon, it's equivalent to March or April. As I said, it's a city in Israel, Tel Aviv or Tel Aviv. And according to the Zion Assembly definition and Jah's definition, it's the first month of the year, February. So again, you have these translation counts, right? And so what I'm going to be covering a little bit later on is, not today, but the idea of barley. And, it says here that this word Abib here translates to mean, green ears of barley and all of that. But when you really look at this word, you can see the father's name right in it, Ab. And even though we say Abba, because we see it in the New Testament scriptures as a translation for father, you won't find the word Abba in the Hebrew. So in the Hebrew Strong's Concordance, the word for father is Ab. Now I haven't fully did a full search on the word father because it's like hundreds of times it appears, if not maybe 1,000. But for most of them I've seen, it's just been Ab, right? And so the Abba is another kind of an understanding through time. It went through. But if Ab means father, it also means head, chief. The first word in Strong's Concordance, H1, is Ab, and it means father, chief, head, and all of these things. So when I did a certain study about green ears of barley and all of this and that, and got a good understanding of this etymology, it's almost like this word doesn't really mean green ears at all. It really means the head or the chief month, because the father is like the head. But nonetheless, that'll be a topic we'll cover another time. Shalom to all. And believe you me, we're going to have to talk about all of the grains and the wheat harvests that many people want to talk about. And, when they hear that we keep, our true Abib is February, they're like, yeah, what about the barley and the green ears? And even though a lot of these individuals don't know how barley grows, the maturing period, how long it lasts, when you're supposed to grow it, and then the wheat harvest, which is supposed to be separate from the barley harvest. Of course, you're not supposed to mingle seed when you're planting, right? And understanding, the gestation of these things, and when they, are in their different stages. I can tell you, most people, when they talk about this, they just go off of, somebody that, has a website, and they traveled over to Israel, and they went in a couple of fields and looked at things and said, hey, look at it in March, it's ready to go in April, right? But when you do a study in scriptures, even a thorough study about barley and wheat and what threshing is and what the vintage is, you'll start to see that just due to, you heard me talking a lot about the equinoxes and solstices as the fall seasons. Well, this is exactly what they do also. They try to plant the barley and the wheat according to the equinoxes and solstices, and that's very, very tricky. You can't really, well, you could do that because barley can actually grow throughout the year. It depends on where you are. But in Israel, everything is very specific. So again, I promise I'll talk about barley and the bib and the wheat harvest and everything. And you'll see how it's perfectly, in tune with Jah's almanac. And you're going to hear probably the main argument you're going to hear about, Jah's almanac is that February is in the winter. And of course, if you're looking at the equinox as the beginning of spring, February might be, seen as being winter, but it's not. It's really the beginning of spring that way. And that, again, you watch the other lessons on Most High's almanac. I've proved those things already. Let's take a little bit of a quick look at the words, this word Abib in the scripture, as this comes up, not really to do a contextual read, but just something simple. Exodus 13, verse 4, it reads, "This day came ye out in the month Abib." Exodus 23:15, "Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty." Exodus 34:18, "The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt." Deuteronomy 16, "Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Jah thy Elohim. For in the month of Abib, Jah thy Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night." And in Ezekiel 15, this is referring to the city. "Then I came to them of the captivity at Tel Abib, that dwelt at the river Kabar, and I sat where they sat, and remained there astonished among them 7 days." So, as you know, the main, kind of a controversy for people that deal with the Hebrew, so-called Hebrew calendar, it's really the Jewish Ashkenazi Babylonian devil calendar. I'm not saying the people who follow it are devils, but it's set up by the devil, so that's just what it is. Got to call it what it is. They're going to say that, when it says, like Exodus 13:4, in the moon Abib, or the time appointed in the moon Abib, or the moon of Abib, because they're going to say that the word moon means month. Now, seemingly, it might seem that way, but of course, that's a deception and easily put forth. If you just look up the word month in your Strong's Concordance, it's going to come to Kodesh or Kadash, which, just means a renewal. And if you look up the word moon is Yariak. And the word month is never translated as Yariak. The word Yariak always is pointing to the moon in the sky. So, I mean, that's going to be in a couple of weeks still, and I'm just leaving that for last because that's going to go along with the bib talk as well, what a lot of people use, because you know that they use the new moon nearest the spring equinox, and some use the barley. They use the new moon nearest the spring equinox when the barley is ripe. So they have all these three things they try to use to start the month of bib. So yeah, it gets quite confusing that way. But we'll cover those things, and do your own search. Look up the word moon, look up the word month, and see the confusion that's going on there, because it does say new moon in the KJV, but it really should say new month or the beginning of month. So let's talk about this. Judge months have 28, which is just the first month, and then the rest of the months have 30 and 31 days, or 31 and 30-day months. The so-called lunisolar Hebrew calendar uses 29 and 30-day lunar months. And this is not scripturally supported at all, but it actually exposes not being the Most High's calendar. So we're going to look at something, here. We're going to look into the count of Noah's flood, and you're going to see a few different things here. Now, again, you have to know how the lunisolar calendar operates. They use 29 and 30-day months, and the second month is usually 29 days long. And they put in a 13-month year here and there, and they don't have any sabbatical years in their cycle, and their cycle is 19 years, nothing with sevens, and seven can't even go in their lunar year with the 353 days and 54 and 83 days. So I mean, you're going to see so much, but here's a main thing to show you that this lunar calendar cannot be Jaz Almanac according to his words, because they use 29 and 30-day months. So let's look at this. The flood count in Genesis 8. Genesis 7, it reads, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. So we have the 17th day of the second month. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. So from that 17th day of the second month, we're going to be counting 150 days, obviously. Genesis chapter 8 reads, and the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. So when the 150 days came to an end, the waters were down low, right? And the ark rested in the seventh month, on the 17th day of the seventh month, upon the mountains of Ararat. So a couple of things. When it says the waters abated, they came down low, but they didn't go down to the ground. They went to, basically to the tops of the mountains. That's where they were seen. And it says that the ark came to rest on the mountain. So you notice that the 150 days here comes, and then after the 150 days, we're going to have the 17th of the seventh month. So again, I want to make sure you're understanding this count. So this is what I want you to keep in mind. So if the 17th day of the seventh month, if it comes before that end of the 150 days, then that calendar doesn't coincide with the testimony of scriptures. Again, let's go back and look at it quickly. So it says after the end in verse 3 of the 150 days, then we get the 17th day of the seventh month. If the 17th day of the month doesn't come after the end or comes before it, well, the calendar is unscriptural. So again, going to the second point, but if the 17th day of the month of the seventh month comes after the 150 days, then that is in line with the scriptural testimony. So we're going to count the 150 days with the use of Jah's almanac and his 30 and 31 day months, and then count the 150 days with the 29 and 30 day months of the lunisolar calendar. We're also going to take a look at the 30-day only months, which are 12 times 30 gives you 360. Now, I want to say something here about the 30-day months, because the 30-day months, we teach about, a time and times and a half of a time. And everybody who's into prophecy the world over knows that a time is 360 days. And if you divide 360 by 7, it doesn't work. But if you had 30-day months, you would have 12 30-day months, and they would total 360 days. Now, this 360 days, though, is seen in Scripture, very exclusively to count prophetical years. It was never used by the Israelites to keep the festivals. And I mean, 360 days is 4 days short of the true year, and, it'll fall out of whack. You can't keep the festivals on the set day or anything like that. But I'll say this as well. A lot of us people want to know where this 360 day came from. And where it comes from is right from the beginning of time. So you think about this. First week of creation, 7-day week, right? And Jah's beginning his count from day 1. And so you'll notice that on day 4, he makes the sun, moon, and stars. And then they go into operation day 5, and they start getting their work done. So when they're getting their work done, they're completing the first 360-day year. And Jah's 4 days that had no sun, moon, and stars, they went to day 4. Those are added to the 360, and then it gives you the 364. We'll talk a lot about that when we get to the times of the Gentiles and part 2 of Jacob's trouble. And don't worry, those are still coming, but this is time for calendar talk. So what you see on your screen, I'm going to read on the side. The lunar calendar has 29 and 30-day months, which is not scriptural, nor does it fit with the count found within the flood issues in Genesis 8. So let's look at the second month. Right? And if you get any of their Jewish calendars, whatever calendar they want, even though it's a Babylonian one, it doesn't matter. It all works out the same thing. We have here the 17th of the second month, which would be day 1. So as you see in the yellow, this is the 150-day count. So I don't have to count every single day right now, but screenshot it, count it yourself. It's pretty accurate. And it's going through, so it goes through the 3rd month, the 4th month, the 5th month, the 6th month, and then it gets to this 7th month. And when you get to the 7th month, let's pay attention now. We start going down, and we see that in the red, it's the 17th day of the month. But the 150 days comes after the 17th day on the lunisolar calendar. And this goes against the scriptural count found in Genesis 8. Again, if the 150 days passes the 17th, then it's not scriptural. This is a simple type of proof. But again, it's not something that people take into consider, and I know David, he loves his math, and you're going to get a lot of math today. But again, so look at the 17th is coming before the 150 days. Again, I want you to go back to that scripture, right? It says Genesis 8, after the end of the 150 days, then the 17th has to come. So you cannot have the 17th coming before the end of the 150 days, right? Because it's going to prove the wrong amount of days per month. And that's why right off the bat, the lunisolar calendar, you can see, is out of whack because it has 29 and 30-day months, and that wouldn't work with the scriptures. And this is why Jah's months, of course, have 31 and 30-day months, outside of Abib being 28 days long, and we'll prove that as well. So here's Jah's almanac, his fixed set almanac with his 31 and 30-day months, right? The second month of Jah's almanac always has 31. The third always has 30. The fourth always has 31. All the months are the same all the time. So again, we do the count all through the yellow, go through the 3rd month, the 4th month, the 5th month, the 6th month, and the 7th month. And we see here that on the 13th of the 7th month, that's when the 150 days ends. And the 17th day of the month comes after, right? It can't come before, it has to come after. So this is one way, again, not just proving Jah's almanac, but we're also proving that the lunisolar can't jive with, the Holy Scriptures. Now, when I talked about that 30-day month and this event here that happened in the time of Noah, you can see that a 30-day understanding of prophetical years would work out perfectly if you count it out in a prophetical. And again, you have to have two calendars. You have the prophetical calendar to count prophecies and time, and probably dealing with the end of the world had to do with some prophecy. Because remember, the Most High said, I'll give mankind like 120 years or so that way. So the 30-day calendar would also be 30 and 60-day calendar counts prophetical years would be utilized as well. Watch this. So again, some people say that the true calendar has 30-day months only, but then that would make the year again 360 days long, and you cannot utilize just set feasts on it as well to be fixed, and the 364 year has to be utilized. But when we count prophecy and deal with prophetical time frames, it works, everyone, way even better than the lunisolar calendar. So again, there's our 17th. You should be used to this by now. We're doing the 150-day count. It's like the 150 days comes, and then right after that is the 17th. So this is what leads me to believe that Jah was counting actually, even though he's utilizing two calendars here in terms of holy days, the prophetical calendar is also being used here as a count, which is actually, very wise on how Jah does things. But nonetheless, we see that the lunisolar calendar wouldn't work, but Jah's set almanac of 364 days works perfectly, and his prophetical calendar works perfectly as well. Praise Jah. So lunisolar calendar dissidents, if you follow that Babylonian calendar, get out of it right now. I don't think you're evil at all because, people have been born into these calendars. But, if you're going to promote it, learn about it, read the scriptures, and you could see that it can't jive at all this way. Again, where's the sabbatical years in the lunisolar calendar? Where does the number 7 even operate? It can't even work in the months. It doesn't work in the lunar cycle. It doesn't work with the equinox. All of that is just so far off. And it's amazing to see that, when the truth comes out, people think that this is way out of whack. And that's what it is. Truth is more stringent than fiction. And because people have been so brainwashed, when you come with Jah's truth, they think it's evil. So be careful about these things. Again, Ecclesiastes 33, why does one day excel another when all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of Jah they are distinguished, or were distinguished. He altered season and feasts. Some of them he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them he has made ordinary days. That's right. And believe you me, when you're keeping not lunar Sabbath, lunar Sabbath is also wrong though, but when you're keeping lunisolar months, and then you want to keep the Passover and tabernacles according to the lunar cycle, devil did a good job, man. It's a trick. It's a trick. The Queen of Heaven is being honored. That's why it's called Easter, and Aprilis is all around there. Aprilis is another pagan name for the Queen of Heaven, right? And you know a lot of those. And again, I want to keep saying it, but that's going to be an excellent lesson coming up in the next 2 weeks, so that you'll see that this calendar, these astronomical calendars, are really ancient Baal and Baalim and Ashtaroth worshiping of the heavenly host. So as we go through the year, you'll be seeing the chief banner of Zion, the Israelite, Jahzulite banner that David has, are always having 7 points with his unique designs. As we go through the year with Passover and unleavened bread, the waving of the sheaf, first fruits or Pentecost or the Feast of Weeks, also called the Feast of Harvest, trumpets, the Day of Atonement, which is the fast, tabernacles of 7 days long, or really 8 days long, and the 8th day is the last great day attached to tabernacles, having great symbolisms, and all of these things deal with our salvation. I say it all the time, the spring feast represent the Messiah's first coming. So if he was born, he'd be born during the spring feast, not in tabernacles like everybody else teaches, and of course not Christmas. But most people teach he's born in tabernacles time, but the fall feast represent his second coming. And of course, you see again, the devil is always mixing up things and shifting it, going in the middle or reversing it. That's just a pattern I see all over the place when it comes to him trying to counterfeit the Most High's truths. Again, this pattern here of the festivals is based upon the 7-day weekly cycle. So just as the 7-day weekly cycle from creation sets the foundation of time. That's right, Jah put that in place. It establishes the pattern of the Passover and tabernacle feasts in that they begin on the first day of the week and then on the seventh day of the week, the eighth day being the following first day of the following week. So it has to go this way. When people are using a lunisolar calendar, their festival, the Passover festival, moves all around. You can never figure it out. It goes from one day to the next day. And when you're using the moon, and you think the equinox is off, imagine you're using the moon to the equinox, and imagine you're using the moon to the equinox, or when somebody goes out in the field and says, "Hey, the barley's ready. It's time to start Jah's feast." Anyways, this is the pattern of just things that way from the first to the seventh day. And also, you could add to this that the feast of dedication, which is 8 days long, is patterned also off of tabernacles, and it has the same pattern from the first day to the seventh day, the eighth day being the following week. These are things to keep in mind when you're putting these things together. So when we break down today's lesson, I'm going to go through the first 2 months and covering the third month, of course, but we're going to go by first two, then the third, and then we're going to work our ways down to the summertime, 4, 5, and 6 months, and then 7, 8, 9, and of course 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to, as much as you see these things, I want you to look into this, what you see on this page. I'm going to talk about it again, but these are the anchors. All those highlighted are what you call anchors or set pillars of wisdom. I just want to quickly remind, the audience about, when we're dealing with these festivals, we have summer and winter as the two, main seasons. And this is going to be also utilized in its understanding. And we spoke about this last week, right? To prove that the rainy seasons, the latter rain begins in the first month, and the early rains begin in the 10th month, and more particularly the end of the 9th month. Remember this, right? So the blue colored from Abib is the latter rains, as it says, and then from the 10th to the 12th is the early rains, because that comes early in terms of them together. And then you see the 6 months of early summer and latter summer in the middle, squeezed in. But when you put it in a pattern just like what you're looking at now, this is the rainy season in their order. And this is why the first part is called this, the latter rains, the first 3 months, and then the last 3 months starting in Abib early rains in the Tibet, latter rains in Abib. Sorry, it always gets me mixed up. But this is how it goes. This is Jah's calendar. We're not using the Gregorian or anything right now. Again, when we had that summer, you can see from the 4th month to the 9th month, divided to 6 months, divided in 2, we got early summer and latter summer. You could call latter summer autumn. You can call it seed time or plowing time. Because the word autumn, of course, is not in scriptures. So some people might say, hey, that's not true and blah, blah. But, it means the same thing. Again, our monthly weather averages for Jerusalem help confirm all these things with, the scriptures. Not going to be talking about that too much today unless we get through things as a review. Let's get into this. Jah's months have 28, 30, and 31 day months, as I said. So we're going to build the almanac from the Holy Scriptures using spiritual reasonings. So stick with me on this. And I'm going to try to go at a pace which is not too fast, because it can be not confusing, but if you're not paying a focused attention, you might miss it in terms of the explanation that way. So first of all, the months of the year, as you know, there are 12 months of the year. What you see before you is the amount of days in each month. So like the first month has 21, second has 31, then it goes 30, 31, 30, 31. And then you notice with the 7th month, it starts back at 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 30. This is a simple kind of a pattern, and you're going to see a little bit more of these patterns, but this is how all the months work if you want to look at it in terms of the amount of days. Now, we're going to have to prove this, right, from the scripture. So when I prove this is how I'm going to do it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, okay, we might cover, this is the last um, season of a year. And so you'll have like, I guess that's considered winter. And then you have latter rains. So I'm going to be doing like comparing these 2 months, right, so to speak. And then we're going to like, we'll have a bib again, that spring season or the latter rain season. And we'll compare it to so it's from 1 to 3, and then it's from 4 to 6, right? We're going to look at it. So I'm just showing you how I'm going to chart it for you. And then what I'm going to do is like, again, here's from 4 to 6, what was on the last slide, but we're going to go from 4 to 6, then we go from 7 through to 9. And then I'm going to take the bottom where Ethanim is, 7 through 9, put it at the top and go from 7 through to 9, and then go from 10 again through to 12 to the end of the year, just so that it's fully understood. I've highlighted as much as I can when we go through this and talk about it. And again, we'll finish off, as I said, right with a bib that way. So I'm gonna make sure I did this right. Yep, Tibet, Sabat, Adar, and then Adar again coming through to a bib. So we'll be covering, all most of the year very clearly. Okay. And the Most High's calendar was re-given in Egypt before the Exodus and the law. So it's very foundational. Exodus 12:1 reads, And God spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month, not this moon, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months, not the beginning of moons. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Now, this is probably the most quoted scripture, when people are talking about calendars. So they'll use this, a lunar solar calendar person could use this and say, hey, this is referring to, the moon nearest the spring equinox. Somebody could say for the Gregorian calendar. Somebody could say for Enoch calendar. It doesn't matter people could say whatever they want, but we know that Jah is saying this is the beginning of months. So he's re-giving the year, right? Reason why I say it's re-given, because remember, Jah's times are always significant. He's not just making things go back and then he's just going to say, oh, let me just choose. No, it's always been going through a cycle, but then things will be hidden from man's eyes for a while, and then Jah will reveal it. Just like how the 7-day Sabbath was revealed to Israel as well. We knew it was from the beginning, but you notice that he had to give it back to them again. It wasn't that he changed the weekly cycle. It's just they didn't know anything about it. So it's foundational, but not only is it foundational, to be honest, the Most High's calendar was first given at creation in the beginning. So it's even more foundational. I mean, in Genesis 1:1, it just says, in the beginning, Elohim made the heavens and the earth. And then the rest of the verse, he made light, the water. And it says at the end of that verse, and the evening and the morning were the first day. So Jah himself was counting, right, from the first day. It only makes sense. That's how we count. We don't count from the fourth or anything like that. We're counting from the first day. No sun, moon, and stars. The earth wasn't even formed at all, just material. All that was made on the first day was actually the 4 elements and the angels. That's it, right? But Jah was counting. That's why he said first day. Then he said second day, third day. So this is the whole point about this is that this is why it's called Jah's almanac, Jah's calendar, because he begins it on his count. Jah's calendar, I don't believe it's a solar calendar, although the sun is the biggest main thing out there. And even with David, in the Black Book, David never called Jah's calendar solar, but in the New Book, he called it solar. But he just did that because when he was reading in Scripture, he's seen that the sun is responsible for all the days. But in terms of counting the seasons and the years, we see, the sun is still involved, but we see that his weekly count is still involved. So I consider that Jah's calendar is his almanac. It's a fixed almanac, and the solar or the sun runs within it. Because think about it, the sun, moon, and stars were made within the first creation week. So this is why I don't give it as a solar calendar. But nonetheless, whatever anybody wants to call it, we know it's fixed. It belongs to the Most High, and his holy days are fixed. His months are fixed. The earth is fixed. The 28-year cycle is fixed. We can go on and on. Everything is fixed. Again, we know about this Proverbs 9, wisdom has builded her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. 7 is the foundation for the beginning of Jah's almanac from day 1 to day 7. So again, looking on your screen, this is God's creation week, his 7-day creation week. And remember, he's counting time from day one, he went to day one, day two, day three, but then day four is the main epoch that mostly everybody else who keeps, of course, an astronomical solar or lunar calendar or who uses equinoxes, they use this as the beginning of the calendar. That's right. So they say God's calendar starts on day four. In the middle of the week, just like how they change the day in the middle of the night, they change chronology in the middle of Jah's time frames. They change Jah's universe from the Earth being in the middle to the sun being in the middle. And again, right here, this is the same thing. The Enoch calendar, the Essene calendar, the lunisolar calendar, you name it. Anything that deals with the equinox to begin from day four. So right off the bat, you can see that their foundation is based upon solar and, I just call it astronomical observations. I believe that the Most High waited to the fourth day to make the sun, moon, and stars just because, he has great warnings not to worship the sun, moon, and stars. And some people teach that the sun, moon, and stars were made on the first day. And probably that's what would lead to, solar worship or sun worship or moon worship. But no, he didn't make it on the first day because we want to honor him who made the sun, moon, and stars. So that's something to really kind of have in your head that this is what they deal with. And even there's some people have a 364-day calendar. It's fixed like how Jazamak is fixed, but that means their Passover and everything begins on the fourth day of the week. So they keep it always Passover will always be on the fourth day of the week. But then they get mixed up when they want to count to Pentecost because Pentecost is after the seventh Sabbath. So see how easily things can fall apart. And we're going to make it fall apart before this year is done. So let's look at Jah's 7 holy pillars and convocations. And here they are. These are the pillars of Jah's calendar we're going to have to focus on. The first day of Passover, the seventh day of Passover, including the sheaf, because they go hand in hand. The day of Pentecost, or first fruits. As we say, the spring represents the first coming, fall represents the second coming. Another anchor, and these are all set. The Day of Trumpets is the first day of the 7th month. Day of Atonement is the fast, the Feast of Tabernacles, the first day of it, I should say, and the 8th day. All these are anchors, and they're placed on Jah's almanac, just like the weekly cycle for the beginning, so that we can establish how long all the months are. And with this information right here, actually, you'd be surprised how you can do it when you know that Jah's festivals are set. If you think that Jah's festival is running on a lunar cycle or whatever, then you would never be able to find, when these festivals are. They wouldn't even be anchors. Nothing. An anchor means something that is fixed and can't move, but their calendars always move, and Jah's doesn't. But there's other type of anchors as well. You're going to see from just simple things, right? In terms of the first day of the year is always on the first day of the week. Why? Well, right from the foundation of time, Jah began it on the first day of the week. And this is how his calendar operates, right? It operates on fixed time, and the 7-day weekly cycle is the governor for everything. And you know how the number 7 already works. So then it also lets us know that the last day of the year is always on the 7th day of the week, the Sabbath, because the 7th-day Sabbath is the completion of that week, right? And it's because it's the standard, that means the year will begin on the first day of the week all the time, and that means the year will always end on the 7th day of the week all the time. The Feast of Dedication in the 9th month is also evidence of Jah's scriptural calendar, and we're going to talk about that as well. It's going to help confirm things as well. And you have to know this, only the 7th month begins on the 7th day of the week by Jah's perfect design of sevens. So that's something you have to utilize and understand with Jah's almanac. And because we've had this almanac so many times, I want to repeat it. The 7th month is the only month that starts on the 7th day of the week by Jah's perfect design. All other months can start on various days of the week, and we're going to talk about that. So, for example, the first month starts on the first day of the week, the second month on the first day of the week, the third month on the fourth day of the week, and then the fourth month is on the sixth day of the week, and then the fifth month is on the second day of the week, and the sixth month is on the fourth day of the week. I can go on for all of the days, but again, when it comes to the seventh month, that's the only month that has it begins on the seventh day, and that's Jah's wisdom. Just as the first month only, it's not the only month that begins on the first day, but because it's the first month, the first day just makes it perfect as well. So again, looking here, here's the anchors. So we have the first day of Abib up top to the left. We got our festivals of Passover, right? And the 14th is kind of attached to this. 14th and evening is the beginning of the 15th. We have the sheaf. We even have the Passover of the second month being, just like the Passover of the first month. We have in the third month the Feast of Pentecost. And then we don't have no festivals in the fourth, fifth, or sixth. So we're going to have to utilize how to count these. But we're going to also use the seventh month, and especially the first day of the seventh month, right? You can see that the seventh month is the only, like I've been saying for a while, the only month that begins on the seventh day of the week. All other months, and even in the ninth month, this is where you get the dedication. They all begin on different days of the week. Now, winter begins on the first. Winter begins on the first day as well, or the 10th month. So we have 1 month that begins, 2 months, 3 months that begin on the first day of the week, and we could go on and on. But these are the anchors, and the last anchor I want you to bear in mind is that the last month of the year has 30 days, and it ends on the Sabbath. That's going to be a part of putting this together. I know it looks complicated, but you'll be surprised how actually simplified it might be. So let's start right from the get-go. Here we go. So day one of creation, right? Day one of creation is going to be the first day of the first month, Abib, the first week, the first month, Abib, and the first month, first season, and first year. So the date will be Abib 1. And then obviously, if we go to the second day of creation, when he made the firmament, it'll be Abib 2, right? The date will be the second of Abib. We're still in the first week, we're still in the first month, and we're still in the first season and the first year. Then day 3, of course, Abib 3, right? And then we have Abib 4, as you can see, going on, still week 1. Now, I just want to say again and remind ourselves, we don't begin counting from day 4 when the sun, moon, and stars are made. Because even, just looking at it this way, again, you have day 1, week 1, Abib 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where we started from, day 1. That's correct. Jah's calendar can't start from day 4. That wouldn't be, everyone, Abib 1. And that's what people are trying to say it is. That's where Abib 1 starts. Again, the middle of the creation week. So we finish this first week here, right? As you can see. So again, the seventh day of creation, the first Sabbath, would be Abib 7. Week 1 is coming to an end. And then the next week following, you're going to have the date is going to be obviously Abib 8. It's going to be week 2, still the same month, still the same season, still the same year, right? So we follow along Abib 9. And I mean, you can go all the way through 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you notice again, Abib 14 is on the 7th day of the week, because since the month starts on the first day of the week, all the multiples of 7 will be on the Sabbath. So 7, 14, 21, and 28 for the first month will always fall on the 7th day Sabbath. So let's now look at it in a calendar format with our study almanac that everybody has. Make sure you read up all these scriptures that, talk about, the latter rains here. I think Joel talks about the latter rains. But if you look at this, this is all creation week. And you'll notice that in the 7th day, we have Exodus, which is remember the Sabbath day. But we're going to be also using Leviticus 23, because Leviticus 23 lists all the festivals in order from the first festival or the Sabbath to the last festival of the year. So just like we saw on the last chart, the 8th of Abib, the 14th is on a Sabbath. And if you want to check out all these other scriptures on your own, you can do that. So let's go to Leviticus 23 and give it a little bit of a read to compare these things. And Jah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of Jah, which you shall what? Proclaim. That means make sure it's established to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts. And as we know, a holy convocation is a summons by the Most High, and he wants to meet with us and his people during that time. So it's in Leviticus here, verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Jah and all your dwelling. So obviously, let's think about it in our spiritual, logical way of reasoning. If Leviticus is 23 is telling us all the festivals of Jah, we know that the seventh day Sabbath is a Jah. He calls it a feast, same way. It's a festival. But if you were to start from the beginning of the year, the first festival that you would come upon would be the 7 day Sabbath. So you notice again, this Leviticus chapter 23, it's a very clear explanation if you just read it all the way through from the beginning of the year to the end. So we would have now, let's say you were thinking about looking at verse 3. It says the Sabbath, the seventh day you shall do no work. So we know that the seventh day of the first month of Abib is just the seventh of Abib. That's the real date of it, right? So, I mean, there it is again, Leviticus 23, verse 2, going along, because when we read Leviticus, it's very clear. So, verse 3 again says 6 days. Then we go to verse 4. These are the feasts of Jah, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. That's right, not no astronomical equinox seasons, Jah's measured seasons. So it says, in the 14th day of the first month at evening is Jah's Passover, the end of the 14th day. So look at here. It's almost like you got dates. The first Sabbath up in verse 3 is Abib 7. And now you're getting it in verse 5. You're getting Abib 14. It's like we were counting. So notice it says at evening in Jah's Passover. And then I put in the brackets sacrifice. Because a lot of people believe that the Passover is like the first day. And then you have one day as Passover. You do a feast. And then after that day is over, you have another 7 days of unleavened bread. But that's not how it works. The Passover and unleavened bread are the same feast. But what you do at the 14th day at evening, which is the end of a Sabbath day, because you don't work on a Sabbath day, as soon as the day is coming over and the sun is just about to set, you sacrifice the lamb. And then as the sun sets, which is a couple of minutes later, the lamb is dead. And then you're beginning to be roasting that lamb in that nighttime period and cooking it and preparing the meal. And that would be the 15th day, because the 14th that evening is the beginning of the 15th. So let's look at our almanac again. Oh, actually, here's what I was just saying. Deuteronomy 16, it says, but the place which Jah the Elohim shall choose to place his name therein, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at evening. We know that the evening is the 14th. At the what? Going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. So again, I had to put this out there because when people see, if you don't put the word sacrifice at the end of verse 5, it says it's Jah's Passover. And because, the word Passover means the sacrifice, the day, the meal, and the 7 days, if you don't know the context of it, then, everything seems to be out of whack. One second. Sorry about that. My cat always coming in. I know she loves me, but I have to have my time here. So, anyways, let's move on. So, again, hope you understand this kind of like it's the sacrifice. The Passover it's speaking about is the sacrifice at the going down of the sun, not the actual meal. The meal is eaten on the 15th. So, again, here we are. And if looking at this screen, it's like right at the end of the 14th day there, the sun will be setting. Boom. You sacrifice the lamb. By the time, like I said, it's dying, then you go on to the 15th day. Verse 6 goes on to say, and on the 15th day, see this, of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Jah. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So because people see that the Passover up there, then they see the feast of unleavened bread. But when we come to that feast, which is not too far, we will fully show that. But by now I know most people understand this. So notice it says, in the first day, and that's the first day of the week as well, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. But you shall offering made by fire unto Jah 7 days, and the seventh day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. And then verse 9, we'll talk about that in a bit. So let's take a look again now. So at the end of the 14th day, the animal is sacrificed. You begin eating it and cooking it and everything in this night on the 15th. And remember, you're supposed to leave none of it over until the morning. And this is the verses here that we just read. It's an holy convocation. You should do no work therein. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. It says the seventh day is a holy convocation as well. So that's a special Sabbath that way as well. It's the seventh day of Passover. So you can have a nice big meal on that day and so forth. And you can actually eat within that 24-hour period. So even if you wanted to wake up and have a little meal and cook it up on the seventh day Sabbath of Passover, you can do it. It says you can do no work except you may eat. But on the normal Passover, like on this daylight time, no, we don't cook or anything like that, right? That way, if you want to have your little meal at the end of, the sixth day, going into the seventh, and you want to eat that meal in the seventh day in that nighttime, the first hour or so, that's all right, right? You're eating and you're moving on. So this is how this works here that way. Let's continue. So, well, you should offer an offering made by fire unto Jah 7 days. And in the seventh day, I'm just kind of going back, is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein. And Jah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Jah to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Now again, simple context reading, right? Verse 8 says, in the seventh day is a holy convocation. I'm telling you, that's the Sabbath. Then it goes on to verse 11, talking about the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. So that's after the seventh day of unleavened bread. But guess what? Yeah, this is what people do in the world, I'll give you a second to guess, but you probably know what I'm going to say. What they do is they do it the morrow after the first day of unleavened bread. Can you believe that? Right? So they're going to count the waving of the sheaf and the 50 days to Pentecost after the first day of Passover, right? Because they're going to say that's a holy Sabbath, and then try to count their days, and it's not even going to work. They're counting within the Passover as well, and that's so silly. It's right here written before us. It's a what do you want to call it? A chronological sequence that is happening here. But again, I tell you, this is what the devil does out there. He tricks people, and people have made the head the tails and the tails the head. If you check it out, that's what people do. They count the sheaf. They say the waving of the sheaf is after the first day and not the seventh day. Some of you may not even know that, but this is what it takes to know these things, because people are going to come to you and say, no, it's not the seventh day. But when you read it very clear and clean, there's no deception here. So we had, remember, this is the 21st. This is the seventh day of unleavened bread. The morrow after it is the waving of the sheaf. The 50-day count begins. We just read it in Leviticus 23. So if we were to begin counting from here and count this as day one, obviously going through to the first Sabbath at the end of the month would be the first week, or day 7 of the count of the 50 days, or the first Sabbath to the count of 7 Sabbaths. So now you see on your screen as well, I said, let me see something here. I said Abib has 28 days. Now we're going to have to prove that. But you notice that February also has 28 days, and it's so strange how February is like the second month of their Gregorian year. And then for the lunar calendar people, they're called lunarians, so to speak, February is the 12th month of the year. Hmm. So, boy, oh boy, something else here. This little mix up thing is going on. So we're going to have to prove that 28, that is 28 days. And you notice that, again, it ends on the seventh day of the week. Let's continue. Verse 14. You shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete, right? So let me finish off. Is even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days. So when we just look at this, right, we've seen that the sheaf begins on the first day of the week. And obviously, if you're going to count 7 Sabbaths, and then after the 7th Sabbath, what would come after that? The first day of the week. And it has to be also the 50th day. So when you're keeping the Feast of Pentecost, it must always occur on the first day of the week or the morrow after a Sabbath, in particular, the seventh Sabbath count from the waving of the sheaf, because it says, count you, verse 15, count from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day you brought the sheaf. So you have to count it right from the right time in order for everything to fall in line with the cycle of sevens. If you use a lunar calendar and Passover begins on any day of the week or whatever, you know what goes on. But what they trick you and do is when they're dealing with that, because their festivals run around, what they do is that when I say their Passover starts on like a Wednesday, right? For them, right? They love to start it on the Wednesday. They say that the Messiah, he ate the Passover on a Wednesday and he was crucified on a Wednesday, but that's not true. But let's say it's Wednesday, they will say. So they'll go, all right, Wednesday's the first day of Passover, and then Thursday, Friday. And then when the Sabbath comes, even though that might be the third, fourth day of the Passover, then tomorrow after that Sabbath, they start counting. They call that the waving of the sheaf, and they'll count from there. So again, they'll be starting the count of the waving of the sheaf. To try to make it happen on the first day of the week, they have to count it from the first day of the week after the Sabbath. Otherwise, it doesn't work out. And a lot of people, they don't know how to work it out either. So they make up all these wrong rules and these different rules. But really, when you just do it the proper way, everything falls in line. Give me 1 second here. All right. So again, we're looking at Abib, the waving of the sheaf on the 22nd. We begin our count. So I'm going to get into the next topic here. Abib has 28 days and ends on a Sabbath. Ziph, the second month, starts on the first day of the week. And Exodus 16 is the scriptural proof. So what you see before you is the first 2 months. Abib has 28 days. So because it has 28 days and it ends on the Sabbath, that would make Ziph start on the first day of the week. But then somebody could say, well, how can you prove that? And also, as you can see, I didn't kind of put in how much days are in Ziph yet, because there are 31 and 30 days. But again, we would have to work that out. So I just gave it at 28, just so to make people kind of see how we build upon these things. And notice, there's a scripture that lets you know that the Passover is kept in the second month, at the 14th day of the month at evening. Notice it's just like the Passover in the first month at evening. So that means you can keep the Passover in the second month if you miss it in the first month, because it's exactly, at least the first 3-4 weeks are exactly the same. So you would be keeping the Passover on the first day of the week as well. Now that can't work on a lunar calendar, obviously, because they have 29 and 30 days, so it'd be out of whack. Continue now and discount. Exodus 16:1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month. after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to El we had died by the hand of John the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Well, you know how that goes. And then said John to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or not, or no. So this is the first test that Jah puts on Israel, on the people, is actually the 7-day Sabbath. If you're going to notice that he's saying that he's going to talk about the Sabbath, but the Sabbath is that testing command to see if people will walk, right, in his law or not, right? So they're going to gather a certain rate every day. Again, that's why the Sabbath is very important in all the festivals. It establishes the rest of your walk in just things. Verse 5. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So again, Abib February has only 28 days, nothing more and nothing less. No other month has 28 days, has only 28 days. So we're going to look at this Exodus chapter 16, the count backwards to the first day of the month. Remember that it said very clearly, we're talking about the 15th day of the month. So Jah said he's going to rain bread from heaven for 6 days, and then twice as much. So obviously he's giving them, when he's talking to them on the 15th, that has to be the beginning of the weekly cycle, because he's teaching them about his Sabbath. So the 15th it rains manna in the morning, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So right after that, with that scripture, it gives us dates of the 3rd week of the 2nd month. Now, if we know the dates of that the 15th is on the first day of the week, then it lets us know by counting that the 21st obviously is on the 7th day of the week. Then we could also, kind of reason and say that the day before the 15th was the number 14, and that would go on the Sabbath day, right? But we'll stop there for a second. We'll continue. Exodus 16:21. So when they gathered it, here it is again, every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, This is that which Jah said to you, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto Jah. Bake that which you bake today, and see that which you see today, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning, right? So he's saying the next day is the Sabbath of rest. And it came to pass that there went up some of the people on the 7th day to gather, for they found none. And Jah said unto Moses, How long refuse you to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that Jah hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he gives you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place, and let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested the 7th day. All right. So, again, going back to our chart, all right, we have the 15th. So the 15th, obviously going back, is the 21st. Well, what's before the 21st? Before 15? The 14th. Then you'll count backwards from there. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Simple count. Then what would be before that? Obviously, the 7th. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what you see on your screen is that by utilizing Exodus chapter 16 and knowing that the 15th is when Jah began to rain the manna for 6 days, and then on the 6th day, he doubled it up, and on the 7th day, he gave none. So this is what happened for 40 years straight, everyone, in the wilderness. So they could never, ever lose sight of the Sabbath day, because when you went out in the daytime, if you even lost count and there was no manna given, it had to be the 7th day. And you know that if it was doubled up, it was the 6th day of the week. So Jah gave them his Sabbath to walk in his commandments for that 40-year period in the wilderness, and they were keeping the Sabbath in their tents. So again, looking at this count, it brings you back to the first day of the 2nd month. And if the first day of the second month starts on the first day of the week, obviously that means that the month prior to it, which is Abib, the first month, would have to end on the seventh day of the week. Logical reasoning, right? So again, you see it here, and then you just count back. So before one, you have the 28th. Now, some may say, well, how do you know that the month doesn't have 35 days? That'd be stretching it, right? And that would ask if the month did have 35 days, Abib, right? Then it would mess up the count to Pentecost because the count to Pentecost is a fixed date. And so you wouldn't have it on the right date that way. And again, it can't go no other way, right? Let's say, the second month ended on the second day of the week. Well, that would mean maybe that Abib would have 29 days, but it doesn't. And remember, the 28 is a very fantastic number in just things. The 28-year cycle, the 28-day menstrual cycle, the 28-day synodic lunar month, even though we don't use lunar months, but 28 days, you go from, a next cycle to a next cycle, anciently from a full to a full. We don't utilize that. Birds and animals and insects all have like 14 days, 7, 14, 21, and 28-day cycles. You can check that out yourself. All of these things, there's a pattern here that's dealing with just things. So the first month has 28 days, and sets the foundation for the 28-year cycle. And the second month obviously starts on the first day of the week. So how many days, though, in Ziph the second month? And which day of the week does it end on? Again, we can find out from the count to the Feast of First Fruits and logical explanations based upon scriptural principles. So again, we just covered the 15th to the 21st, but we know it's going to go up to 28. But is it 29, 30, or 31 day months? Well, I told you before it's 31, but again, we'd have to show that, right? But this count to Pentecost is going to help us. Again, you shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall you number 50 days, and you shall offer a new meat offering unto Jah. So you're going to see here that, and I'll show you why, that the second month ends on the third day of the week and has 31 days. And this count to Pentecost is the full proof. And so let's take a look at this for a second. So the count to Pentecost begins in Abib. So the 28th, what's underlined and italicized, that's the first Sabbath. Then we got the second Sabbath, the third, fourth, and the fifth. So the fifth Sabbath is still in Ziph. And then you notice it has it's 31 days. So we'll show how that works. Before I go there, I want to talk about this. You should know that 12 is the number of just governmental perfection and order. We have 12 tribes of Israel, 12 Israelite apostles, 12 gates to the city, 12 thrones of judgment in Revelation, 12 officers or overseers over and captain over the people of Israel, 12 stones were in Aaron's breastplate, 12 stones when Israel came into the promised land, 12 manner of fruit on the tree of life for the 12 months of the year. So what I'm saying is that the 12th day of Sivan, the second, it should be the third month. I put the second month. Let me fix that right now. Give me a second here. I gotta catch all them little mistakes there. Right there. Third month. Yeah, I gotta get that right. All right, let's get back into it. So the 12th day of Sivan, the third month, is the set date of the Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost. It's the day that the law was given, the Holy Spirit, and it's the day that the Messiah was born. See, the appointed weeks of harvest are the latter rains, and specifically the seven Sabbaths to Pentecost or the Feast of First Fruits. So here we have all of the months in the first season of the latter rains. And we're talking about that count. So remember, we had that count, and we were at number 5 for the 28th for Ziph. Then we have 6, and then we'll have 7. Hold on, let me see if somebody's texting me. Okay, cool. Okay. So where was okay, yes. So we're counting the seven Sabbaths. Now let's look at this for a second. So let's say that there was 30 days and not 31 days. Then if there was 30 days, or if it was 29, let's start with 29 days, then that means that the third month would have to start the day after. This would be month one, this would be day 1 for Sivan, day 2, day 2. This would be day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, doesn't jive. If it was 30, that means this 31 would be day 1 for the next month. And then this would be day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, we don't like 13. That's not jiving with us either. But if it was 31, then we have to count. The 7th Sabbath is the 11th day, and the Feast of Pentecost comes on that perfect number 12, which it should be. Logical reasoning, an explanation that it couldn't be a 29 or 30 day because the 11th Sivan and the 14th doesn't even jive that way at all, right? It has to be perfect in terms of counting the 7 weeks to Pentecost. So when you look at here from the waving of the sheaf from the 22nd all the way until the 12th of the third month, that's 50 days. Perfect. And the 50th day is after the 7th Sabbath. Let's continue. So again, just looking at it, the first month. And I'm going to look at it another way as a chart, just to help you understand. So we have the weekly cycle, of course, Abib 1, so on and so forth. We know that Abib now ends on the 7th day of the week. So we're going to have the beginning of the second month, Ziph here over at the left, day 8, in terms of this is day 8 to the count to the sheaf, right? Then we're going to keep going through. So right here we have from Ziph, day 8 to Ziph 31 days. This is day 38. Then the third month Savan starts. The 6th Sabbath, the 7th Sabbath. And again, this is just showing again how when you just look at the weekly cycle, right from the beginning of Abib, going right down to the 50th day of Pentecost, or the 12th day of Sivan, that 7th Sabbath is the 10th Sabbath of the year, beginning right from the beginning of Abib. So again, this is another way to look at it, utilizing the cycles of 7, and you notice that Jah Sabbath day is still running smooth. So we have now the first 3 months set up for us. Right here, and this lets us know the 12th. But now you see that I've ended this month with 30 days. Because remember, there's a pattern, but still, why 30 days? How come this month, why can't it have 31 days and end on the Friday instead? Well, let's think about this. Right? Remember one of the rules. Let me turn the light so I can be seen better. One of the rules was there's only 1 month that can begin on the 7th day of the week, and that's the 7th month, right? That's specific. It's one of the festivals of trumpets. It's what you call an anchor. So if Sivan, the third month here, if it would have had 31 days, it would end on a Friday, which would cause the 4th month after this to start on the Sabbath. And that can't work, right? It can't work. So this month has 30 days. Let's continue. So Abib. Remember I told about the Passover Um, the 14th at evening. I just want to give you that one verse for it. Numbers 9, verses 10. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if any man of you or your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be on a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto Jah. The 14th day of the second month at evenings, they shall keep it and eat it with unleavened bread. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. Remember, Leviticus 23 said, in the 14th day of the first month at evening. And now we have the 14th day of the second month. And again, this kind of just shows you why these, if you just look at the first 2 months, how it works out perfectly. And not even that, when you see it, I'm kind of, where's it? I'm going to show you one thing right here. Yeah, right here. Just taking a look, notice that the third week, the first day of the week is important. The second month, the first day of the week is important. The second month, the second Passover, and the third week of the third month, all on the first day of the week. Notice how this goes right across straight, a perfect pattern. You understand? That way. So it's like the third week, the first day of the week of the first 3 months, all deals with special holy things. Praise John. All right, so this is Ziph, just looking up close for you all, so you can see it that way. I'm going through it again. And Savan ending on the 5th day of the week. And then you could see the bottom on day 6 here, it says at the bottom, summer begins. That's why they can't be 31 days. So far we got this. Now let's look at this. So when we're looking at this, we got the first 3 months pat. We know each day of the week went out by scripture we're dealing with. So this lets us know right from the third month, since it ends on the 5th day of the week, by default, the fourth month Judah is going to start on the 6th day of the week, right? So that's one of our anchors there. Now we have another semi-anchor here in Dan, but actually what we want to see is that we want to see the anchor in the 6th month. So the 6th month, as you can see here, which is important because it's going to help us back up for a bit. This is how we have to do it. You notice it has 31 days. And it also shows that the 24th, it's slanted because that's a scriptural date I want to share with you later. It's on the 6th day of the week. Now, again, let's go back to the wisdom. What month starts on the 7th day of the week? The 7th. So after 6, right, is going to be the 7th month. And you can see there's no space here because it's going to be the 7th month. It's going to start on the 7th day of the week. So this lets us know one thing, at least, that the 6th month ends on the 6th day of the week. And we know that the 4th month starts on the 6th day of the week as well, right? We have that in front of us. So let's continue. For trumpets in the 7th month. Leviticus 23:24, it reads, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a what? A Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Now for atonement, verse 27, it reads, also on the 10th day of the 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be holy convocation unto you. You shall afflict your souls, and so on. Verse 35, for tabernacles, this is all in Leviticus 23. On the first day shall be the holy convocation, and holy convocation, you shall do no servile work. 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Jah. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Jah. It is a solemn assembly. You shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of Jah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, and so on and so forth, right? These are the feasts of Jah. You know, they call it his feasts. So we see here that the 7th month starts as a Sabbath, it says. And then we have the other dates here. I'm going to go on now. Let me see who keeps linking me. All right, let's continue. So here's the 7th month. seventh month of Jah's Scriptural Study Almanac, go to the top right. For this year, it's August the 7th, but you'll see here again, trumpet starts on the first day of the week, seventh day of the week, sorry, right? You will see that the 10th, because all you got to do is count from trumpets now, count 10 days, and that to atonement, and atonement is on the second day of the week because that's the 10th day. And then it says the 15th day, even though it doesn't say at evening, it's supposed to say at evening, but they mess it up. And we'll talk about that as we get to it. But it's the 15th at evening, like how the Passover works. And then you have the week-long festival of 16th to the 22nd. And then the 8th day, as the scripture says right there in Leviticus 23:39, that'll be the 8th day, the beginning of a new week again. So that's what we just read. Now let's kind of go back to our reasoning. Again, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath. So here we have the 7th month, the 8th month, and the 9th month. So we have our first day of the 7th month is a Sabbath, right? So obviously the day before, if we go continuing, my bad. If we go back to the 6th month, as you know, I hope you're with me. Remember, the 6th month ended on the 6th day of the week, but we're just going to try to confirm all these things. The next anchor we're going to use is the Feast of Dedication on the 9th month as well. But we're going to prove all of these months, even go back and prove the 1st, the 4th, and the 5th months. Okay. In Haggai now, it says this. And Jah stood up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and the spirit of all the remnant of the people. And they came and did work in the house of Jah of hosts, their Elohim, in the 24th day of the 6th month, in the 2nd year of Darius the king. So, all right. The reasoning here first, and when we're going to connect the dots with the 7th month and everything, is that this is the 6th month. And you notice that it says in the 24th day of the month, they did work. So this eliminates the 24th ever being a Sabbath day, because on the Sabbath day, we don't work. And that's knowledge and wisdom to know for this. And let's go into the reasoning again. All right. So remember back here, we're back at the 4th month. Remember, the 4th month has to start on the 6th day of the week because the 3rd month ended on the 5th day of the week. Remember that the 6th month has to end on the 6th day of the week because the 7th month starts on the 1st day of the week. So now, what it said in that verse, it said, now we could ask ourselves, the question is this, and this is the question you would have to ask. Well, how do you know Elul, the 6th month, has 31 days and not 30 days? Well, that 24th will help us. And so this is what I'm saying. So we see that, and stay with me. So we see that Ethanim begins on the 7th day, therefore causing the 6th month to end on the 6th day. Now, you see where it says 31 with that highlight? Let's say that month, right, only had 30 days. You understand? If it only had 30 days, that number 31 would be the 30th day, right? Because remember, the 7th month has to start on the 7th day of the week. So I wouldn't just have the 30 where it is on that Thursday. No, the 30 would have to be over on the 6th day of the week in order to make sure that the 7th month starts on the 7th day of the week. But we can't have this 31 be 30 for this reason, because of that 24th was a work day. So follow along. This is beautiful. So say the 31 there, it was the number 30. Then counting backwards, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. And that means that the Sabbath would have had to have been the 24th, but it says that they did work. So this here helps us to know that there's 31 days in the month. Now, if there's 31 days in this 6th month, now that we know that, we know that the 6th month has to end on the 6th day of the week. So all you'd have to do now is, remember, just count backwards. So From 31 would count backwards. It would bring you, because now that we know for sure the 6 month ends on the sixth day of the week, it has 31 days for sure because you can't work on the Sabbath, and the 24th has to be the sixth day of the week, not the seventh day of the week. It will bring you back to the fixed date of the first of the month, which has to be a Wednesday, because all we're doing is counting backwards. So if the 6th month began on a Wednesday, that means the 5th month right beside it now had to have ended on a Tuesday in order for that to be that way. And then all you would have to do is count and go back. Now, somebody might say, well, why can't the 5th month have 31 days? Well, because the 4th month has 31 days. And there's a pattern to this, right? 31, 30, 31, 30, 31 when it gets to the 6th month. And then the 7th month begins again with 31, 30. So, again, slowly, the 6th month has to end on a Wednesday, has to begin on a Wednesday because of the 7th month issue and the 24th. And that means the 5th month has to, the 5th month, yep, I'm right, has to end on a Tuesday. Counting 30 days backwards means that the 5th month had to start on a Monday when we count backwards from 31, because that means, see this little, the Sunday right here, that would be this number 31, right? So it can't have 30 days in the month because then that would make the 5th month start on the first day of the week. And this, remember, the 4th month always has to start on the 6th day of the week because the 3rd month has 31 days in it, and only the 7th month could start on the 7th day of the week. So what you see proven we've started off so far is we got months 1 to 3. You know, from the 4th month starts on the first day of the week, 6th day of the week. It ends on the first day of the week. Because remember, we did all this count. So I'm just saying, now you got month 5. Now you got month 6. And now we're up to month 7. We know what day the month 7 starts on because it's the month that starts on the Sabbath. So make sure, I know this lesson is it's technical, but remember, we're explaining a calendar here. So go over it. I'll maybe try to make it simplified in the future again, but this is the only best way I can explain it so that there will be no confusion in things. So now we got our 7th month, 8th month, and 9th months to deal with. We know, at least we know what the 7th month, it starts on the 7th day of the week. Now we would have to prove if it has 31 or 30-day months, right? Because remember, Jazz months don't have 29 days, so that's out of whack. So this month, 7th month, let's think about it. It could be 30 days or 31. How would we know? And then how would we know that Bull, the 8th month, starts on the 3rd day of the week and ends on the 4th day of the week? And how will we know Kislev starts on the 5th day of the week and ends on the 7th day of the week? We need scriptures to help us, okay? So, First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 52, it reads, "Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Kislev, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning." Verse 55, I'm just going to the verses that matter. "Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the El of heaven who had given them good success. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days and offered burnt offerings with gladness and sacrificed the sacrifices of deliverance and praise. Moreover, Judas ordained his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel, Jude and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season." Notice it says season, and that season has to be, basically, it's the winter season, ending of the 9th month. The 10th month begins it perfectly. It goes hand in hand. "From year to year by the space of 8 days from the 25th day of the month Kislev." Now, also it goes on to say in John chapter 10, "And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter." Okay, so there's another verse in here. I probably forgot to put it up in there. and maybe it's coming along, but it says that you keep the dedication just like the Feast of Tabernacles. Reason why it's like Tabernacles, because Tabernacles is 8 days. So that's why it's like 8 days. But also, as you know from the pattern I've been talking about, the Feast of Dedication would have to start on the first day of the week. Let's go and see that. Because remember, it's 8 days. And then John 10 says it's the Feast of Dedication and it was winter. So let's go. We're in our still in the autumn months here, 7th through 9. We're in the 9th month, and we're talking about it being the 25th day. And I'm noticing, you notice it's on the first day of the week because we're going to count 8 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that would make the 8th day the beginning, which is the last day of dedication. And it is officially winter. Whew, praise Jah. And even if you know Jah's winter season, when it's talking about the rain, the early rains, if you remember last week when we talked about the rainy season, and remember in Ezra, it says there was the 20th day of the 9th month, and there was a great rain, and they were afraid because of the rain and everything. Well, it's like the last 2 weeks, and in particular last week, I would even say, is like where the rains start. So Kislev is like, it is winter time, right? And it even goes and extends to the first day of the 10th month, what happens to be on the first day of the week. And because of the pattern of Creation Week, of Passover, of Tabernacles, dedication will follow that same pattern as well. So what I'm saying is that this 9th month here, it couldn't have 30 days, right? At all. So let's do some counting now. So, because if you imagine if I have 30 days, then it'd be like from the 25th, then it would go into the second day of the 10th month. I mean, that just sounds weird. It makes it perfect by being on the first day of the 10th month, if that makes sense to you, if you know what I'm saying, right? Because if there are only 30 days, is what I'm saying, then you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And then you'd have 7, 8 coming in. The 2 days would be going into the next month, right? And it wouldn't work. So now that we know this, that there's 31 days and that the 31st day is on the 7th day of the week, we do what we did before. We count backwards, which will bring us back to the first day of the 9th month, which is on the 5th day of the week. If the first day of the 9th month is on the 5th day of the week, that means the last day of the 8th month will be on the 4th day of the week, the day before it. And then you'd have to ask yourself, all right, how many days are in this 8th month? Is it 31 or 30? But now that you see that there's a pattern here, and you can look on your screen, notice you see that 31, 30, 31, 30, 31, 30. So it wouldn't be going 31, 31, or 30, 31, 31. There's no pattern there. But nonetheless, we have here from the 30th. Let's say that this month, well, for the sake of argument, it had 31 days. So that means this Wednesday here this number 30 would really be 31. And then this number 1 would really be pushed over here to be Monday. And then it would just not jive with the 7th month, because the 7th month starts on the 7th day of the week. Now, you could maybe say, hey, let me take 30 days from the 7th month and make the 8th month 31 days. That would still allow the 9th month to start on the 5th day of the week, but it would mess up the pattern of 31, 30, 31, 30, right? It wouldn't jive at all with Jah's things. All right. So I know it might seem like so far we've got the first 3 months, we got the next 3 months up to 6, and now we've covered the next 3 months from 7 to 9. And we know now that if the 9th month ends on the 7th day of the week, the 10th month is going to start on the first day of the week. All right. So let's go to our last anchor that I spoke about before, which was Adar ending on a Sabbath with 30 days. Again, the 31-30 pattern. So I'm going to go, even though we have the first day of the 10th month, we know that, but I'm going to go to Adar now. And now that we know Adar has, like, we know it from just the way the almanac is set up, the year has to end on the 7th day of the week. It has 30 days due to the pattern. Excuse me. So you would count backwards. It would let you know that Adar, that the month that we're in right now, it starts on the sixth day of the week, right? By simple count. And then you count the month before that. That means the month before that would have to end on the fifth day of the week, so that Adar starts on the sixth day of the week. And it'd be 31 days because we're going with the pattern again. 31, 30, 31, 30. You count from 31, you go all the way back just by counting backwards, like we did with the Exodus 16 and the 15th of Ziph. It'll bring you to the 11th month, starting on the third day of the week. If the 11th month starts on the third day of the week, that means the month before it, which is the 10th month, would have to end on the second day of the week. And since the 10th month has to end on the second day of the week, we know it has 30 days because of the pattern. You count all the way back from 30. It brings you back to the first day of the week of the 10th month, which we know drives with the 9th month, which drives with the 8th month, which drives with the 7th month, the 6th month, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Praise Jah. Now, if you even needed some help, Adar, the feast of Purim, also lets you know when they moved it from the 13th. I didn't even have to use it for this one though. From the 13th to the 14th and 15th, they wanted to make that like a nice long weekend that way, because then it would have been the 13th and the 14th, and then there would have been a day between. And Jah likes perfection. And that number 13 already, 13, even though they say it's a bad luck number and everything, in the scriptures, it has a sign of rebellion. And I'll talk about it another time though, but it does. It was on the 13th of Adar that wicked man Haman was going to slaughter all the Israelites, right? All the Jews throughout the land. And you'll start to see other patterns with 13. Remember, we can't have no 13 month in Jah's calendar, only 12. Praise Jah and Jehoshua. So let me see how far we're ahead of schedule too. All right, so let me go to the next screen, which is the full thing. So what we covered all of this right here. I mean, just take a look at yourself for a second and take a stock and see what's going on. And like I said, it won't be as hard as you think once you know the festival days that they're fixed, and you just kind of use a little bit of wisdom and reasoning. This is how David figured it out. And again, remember, we're using scriptures. Never look up in the sky for nothing. You're learning about the months from the Bible, as Bible calendar. Can you believe that? Nowhere in the world does that exist. Praise Jah, because the world is against Jah things. That's why. And this calendar, they can go gainsaying it all you want. You're going to have to deal with a whole bunch of things. It's not just somebody could say, well, whatever he says, he's just making it up. And they're going to say, that's a man-made calendar. It's not man-made. It's scriptural. You understand? Pure scriptural fundamentals, 7, the wisdom of 7, the pillars, the festivals, the 7 convocations, the fixed days and dates, creation beginning on the first day of the week, the year ending on the 7th day of the week, some perfection of harmony. But let me show you something else. So I talked about the days of the week that each month begins on. This is very unique. That's right. Jeff Anderson says the only 2 months that have the same amount of days back to back is Elul. That's right. The first half of the year ends with 31, and the second half of the year starts with 31 in the holy month. Excellent. That's right. And the Sabbath plays a part in understanding all of these things. Yes, I'm just looking at the words. All right. Now check this out. So you can memorize this if you want, because I know like I was reasoning with my wife on these things the other day, and I like reasoning with her when we have this kind of like we like Jah's almanac and finding perfections and patterns and all these kind of things. So I was trying to I wanted to memorize the days of the week which each month starts on, right? And I want you to memorize it too, because it's something I know, like 114, 624, 735, 136, right? Close my eyes, but on here this is what you have, and this is what you're going to see. The first month begins on day 1. Day 1, day 4. So the first 3 months is 114. The second season of summer, it starts on day 6, 2, and 4. 624, right? 624. So you got 114, 624. Instead of remembering, like a long digits, 114, 624, like a pattern. And then the 7th month, as begins on the 7th day of the week, 735. So 735, 735. Then you have 10, 136. So you got 735 136, 114 624 735 136. Perfect. That's the beginning of the days of the week of each month. It's a pattern. If you can remember it, if you can remember it, you do yourself very well. Because I want to do these things. Because what if Babylon shuts down the internet and all this and that? Like I said, we want to be able to make Jah's almanac from the scriptures, utilizing, our memory as well. So look at this again. This is from months up here, the little thing from months from 1 to 12. I look at these months in order. I want to show you something. So again, 114, 624, 735, 136. Right? Good pattern for you to remember. Check this out. Again, just looking at it again. See up top, 1, 1, the fourth day of the week. 6, 2, 6, 2, fourth day of the week. 7, 3, 5, 1, 3, 6. Okay, I'm just trying to show you as much ways as possible. All right. Focus on this little thing. This is something, boy, thanks, Andrew. I'm telling you, man, you open up, you don't know already, man. Iron sharpens iron. And this is some heavy stuff still. So the day of the week of the months begin on. And I like numbers and patterns. I love it with letters and etymology and stuff, but this number thing is something. So number 1 is a holy month. That's what HM stands for, holy month. Number 4, where number 3, the third month, is a holy month. Remember, we're talking, those are the days of the months. Those are the days of the week they start on, right? So again, I just want you to know, the first month starts on the first day of the week, and it's a holy month, first day of the week. The third month is where we find Pentecost, Savan. It starts on the fourth day of the week. It's a holy month. The seventh month, right, as you know, starts on the seventh day of the week. It's a holy month. 3 holy months. Dedication and Purim, they're not in the Torah that way. If you want to keep them, you can. So I want you to see this too. The holy seasons cover the first 7 months, from month 1 to month 7. So that's something you have to know. Month 1, very important month, it has like a week-long festival. Month 7 has a week-long festival. 4 has a festival in it too. It's only 1 day long, still important. But I want you to focus on these week-long. So the first month has a 7-day festival, and the 7th month has a 7-day festival, plus the 8th day. All right. So watch this now. What's left? Remember, I'm bringing this 1 down here. I'm keeping the 1 out of it because that's the first month, from the month 1 to number 7. I'm keeping the 4 in here. I took the 7 out. So the first month of holy month there of a week, the 7th month holy of a week, I took it out. Watch this. All right. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 2 plus 5 equals 7. 6 plus 1 equals 7. 4 plus 3 equals 7. 1 plus 6 equals 7. And the 7 here is like in the middle. Now, this is really neat still, but it even gets better. Remember, I took out this 1, this 4, and the 7, the holy months. 1 plus 4 plus 7 equals 12. I said, well, what's the big deal? These are some patterns and some things. And I know that Jah has some great numbers and things. And this one, like I said, is I know David Cornick is going to probably be like, boy, because, he likes these numbers too, like me. But this is something else. And this is a pattern kind of letting me know that the way that Jah set up his calendar is mystery with 7 and 12. 12 is the number of Jah's order of government, and 7 is the number of perfection. And look at how it's working within this system. Praise Jah, for his mercy endures forever. Wow. Let me see something. Yeah. So, brethren and sisters, I hope you're going to utilize your almanac this year. When if you go to, again, truetalks.ca, I'll maybe it's in the room already. I don't know where else I'm going to put it, but that's what it's about. You can spread it, tell anybody you want about it. You're not going to have to write in your calendar, your almanac, because it's all there. And although this looks crowded, Abib, take your time. And, I really want you to read these verses. I didn't put the study calendar together just so you can just look and say, hey, it's so pretty. I like it, study it. You understand? Because what I notice, not about anybody that I know in Zion or anything like that, but a lot of people I've talked to, you tell them to go watch a video or go research that verse or go check it out. They don't do it. Maybe they're not interested, and I'm not blaming them for that. But I mean, David put a lot of work. I put a lot of work. I'm going to continue work, and I just don't want the work to be in vain. So don't just make this calendar rest and this and that. Share it with people. It's free. Giving you two for free. If we were to sell all our books and all the charts and everything, man, we'd have like our own Zion assembly of Jah's store completely. But David didn't want to be utilizing it to be a money-making thing, although certain things we might sell just to keep things going. But as of now, we don't need no money or anything like that. Freely we've gotten, freely we give. But I really want you to take heed to these things. I want you to share them and study them. You'd be surprised how much time it takes. You're looking at many, many, many years of work, and sometimes people get things handed on a platter. It's like they don't know what it is, and so they just treat it flippantly, so to speak. Know who you're giving these things to. Don't throw pearls to swine, and trust me, these are great pearls. If people can't see the equinox thing and all that, it's going to be hard for them. I'm just going to go through all the months. Ziph. Again, know your times, know your holy days, the month of the second Passover, Sivan, Jazla, Pentecost, the count, the Messiah's birth. We talked about the 4th month. It has to start on the 6th day of the week. It can't start on the 7th, right? 5th month, you got your scriptures to check out. Even in the 6th month, you got your conception of Mary down there. On the 19th, so you can count your weeks until the Messiah's birth. Yeah. Of course, powerful Ethanim, the 7th month. Bull, the 8th month. Kislew, last month of autumn. You have the Feast of Dedication at the bottom. Lots of scriptures for this month. All those scriptures are dates that you can compare yourself. Tebeth, wintertime, dedication. Sabbath, the 11th month. And Adar, starting on the 6th day of the week, ending on the 7th day of the week. Which therefore, if you look at the calendar, right, so it says it ends on February, at the bottom, the 5th. So that lets you know that year 6222, it'll be already January 22nd already, but 6222, Abib will begin on the 6th. And then all the months of that year will be on the 6th of March, the 6th of April, the 6th. But this year is good to know, the 7th, so you can never forget it. January 7th or February 7th, March 8th, April, June, July, all of it is the 7th day of the month. So keep that in mind. So I'll finish off a couple of things here. The Roman dates and dates change in the middle of the night. That's wicked. They even switched the compass bearings to put the east in the middle. Many people begin the scriptural calendar with the middle of the creation week when the sun, moon, and stars were originated. They even falsely count chronology of years from the middle of Jah's 7,000 year cycle with the use of BC and AD or the BCE, CE. Even the earth is moved from being the middle, now it's the sun. The whole world begins the seasons from the middle of Jah's true seasons by erroneously using the equinoxes and solstices as the beginning of seasons, and especially the vernal equinox. This is a false sign of the start of spring and the astronomical, false, devilish, satanic new year. These are lies being separated from the truth. Make sure you understand the false use of the calendar. The 12 doesn't go at the top. That's clock. The 12 is at the bottom. They're switching it around. And we'll talk about the clock as well when we get up into the New Year's. But this is how time is really supposed to be kept. So in a few minutes, when this Sabbath is over, it's going to be like 1 minute into the first hour. And then 7 p.m. will be the first hour, second hour, third hour, and so on and so forth. Even though on the clock, Babylon clock, it's going to say 7 o'clock, but it's really the first hour. God's true time. Again, the middle of the scriptural seasons are the equinoxes and solstices. They're not the beginning of the seasons. This is another chart too. Maybe you can print it off. You'll see it next week as well, or screenshot or whatever. But it lets you know again, Abib, dealing with spring, the beginning, mid-spring, the equinox. Just letting you all know. In Jah's almanac, that the study almanac, I put the dates for the 7th for when the season start. But for this one, because it's a generic chart, I didn't put like February 7th, May 7th. But in your almanac that you got, it's there. Again, looking at the purple here, this is when the heathens, if you notice that our second month, Zif, is the spring equinox, and the heathens begin their Nisan right there. Tammuz is their summer solstice, a false pagan god. Tishri is a pagan god. Even Nisan is the name. They went into Babylon with the name of Abib for the first month. They came out with the word Nisan. So again, this helps you see things. So remember, any calendars that use the equinoxes and solstices at the beginning of seasons are false. Any calendar that uses the solar system for time reckoning is false. The solar system and the vernal equinox are devices of the devil. A list of the false satanic astronomical calendars, Gregorian and Julian, professed Hebrew lunisolar calendar year, Enoch or Enochian calendar, the King David, the Maserat zodiac astronomical calendar, garbage, the modern Abib Barley lunisolar calendar, the ancient Egyptian, Assyrian, and Babylonian calendar, the ancient Greek and Roman calendars, the Ethiopian Eastern Orthodox calendars, the Abib Barley Harvest calendar from Abib of God. That's one of their, Abib of God is a big website that people use as, they do the whole barley and they go out there and write some big things and see, it's not till April and all them foolishness there. And they all plant it wrong. But I mean, people look to them as kind of like the main standard for when your bib is green or your barley is green or ready for harvesting. And John never said nothing about that in the scripture, that you have to wait to this and that to the color, but nonetheless. Again, get yourself oriented. You should know the east, right? To turn towards the east, sunrise, to place or adjust as a map in exact relation to the points of the compass, to adjust according to recognized facts. That's what the word orient means. Notice it's, again, to face or turn to the east, to adjust your compass points, and to recognize the truth or the facts. The truth of the matter is, the modern compass bearings, what they give you, folly. And we'll talk about that a little bit next week, but I got a minute or two here just as I close this off. The ancient scriptural compass bearings, east at the top, north and south, of course, at the sides. That's where the sun rises, right? The east. Even the forefront of the Jah's house faces towards the east, right? You need a scripture for that? Chronicles 4:10. And he set the sea on the right side of the east end over against the south. So that means south is on the right side of east. Ezekiel 47. Afterward, he brought me again unto the door of the house, and behold, the waters issued out from under the threshold of the house eastward. And the forefront of the house stood towards the east. And the waters came down from under from the right side of the house at the south side, right? So again, there's south at the right of east, east being the prime, bearing. So they lied to you and have your world like this, they put the north at the top because it lets the European man them and everything, we the champion, we are top of the world on them way there, it's a trick still. You might have heard people talk about it before, but look on your screen. This is how jazz things are supposed to go. East at the top, north and south at the sides, west at the bottom. Jerusalem is Middle Earth. And even though people want to say, all right, Jerusalem is Africa, all right, cool, Africa, the whole of that land there, that whole thing is really ancient Ethiopia. It's a continent. But nonetheless, as you go through time, modernize it, yes, Jerusalem is a part of what you would call Africa, which is, been separated by the Suez Canal. But the truth of the matter is, Jerusalem is in the middle of the earth. It's right near the Mediterranean, the Middle Earth Sea. So that's that, Thanks, everyone, for sticking in this long. I'll be bringing these little slides up again, maybe again, just to, recap and stuff like that. But all these things let you know that the devil has deceived all of us, and we're coming out of it now, giving thanks to Jah, our Father, for calling us unto his Son, the Messiah, Jehoshua, Yahshua, Yahawashai, so that we could have eternal life. And Joshua, the Messiah, Yahawashai, Jesus, he's a Nazarite. He was a Nazarite. He is a Nazarite. He's set apart and sanctified. Yeah, that'll be another beautiful, powerful lesson. Praise the Most High. Thank you for listening, and I'll close in prayer. Boy, these guys even start creation in the middle of the week. I forgot about that one too, eh? Boy, man, I tell you. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Holy One of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we thank you for life, Elohim. We thank you for sending your Son to die for our sins, and we accept your sacrifice, Jehoshua, and we believe in you, that you died and resurrected 3 days, and that you're in heaven now, conducting things until your second coming. Forgive us, Father, for our sins, and all believers around the world, help them to overcome the temptations in their life and in the world. Give us, Father, the spirit of faith and strength, that we would not be moved by anything that's going on in the world. Heavenly Father, we just ask that you have this assembly grow in love. Give us, Father, your spirit of mercy, that we may forgive others as you forgive us. And also, Father, we just grow to love others as you love us. Continually open up our minds to your truths. And again, Father, I'm thankful for all things you've given us for salvation. I pray for all Israelite believers, all Messiah believers all over the world. I even pray, Father, for those who are not yet called, that you may strengthen them to your truth, that all, Father, may be saved according to your will. As always, we pray through our righteous King, Jehoshua, Yahshua, Yahawashai of Nazareth. So be it. Praise Jah. All right, everyone. Thanks again. I hope you enjoy your almanac and stuff like that. And, I don't know how much more I'm going to try to get it out there, but I'm going to put the description in my, I put the almanac on this video in the description. So it'll be under like live playlist that way. So you can send other people to it, or just tell them truetalks.ca. Bless up. And let me look at the room. Yes, thank you. And the calendar was always in the Bible, eh? You see how Jah hides things? Think about that. Praise Jah. Wow. Jah is great, and his mercy endures forever. Bless up, everyone.